Okay, I'm sure we've all been there before where we've typed in a lot of text into a form and we've seen a warning. Maybe we've seen a warning like this saying we've made some changes and then we've decided to click somewhere else and then we go back and we think, oh no, and all our changes have been lost. So we're going to take a look at how we can help the user with this if they have made any changes, not significant changes, just a single character. We want to say, hey, are you sure you want to move away from this because all of your changes are going to disappear? And we're going to take a look at how we can deal with that scenario in Angular. And one of the things we looked at earlier was an auth guard, and we used that to see if the user should be able to activate a route. And we're going to look at the other side now, which is the Can Deactivate part of an Angular route guard. So let's just clean up the tabs at the top. They're getting very busy. And we'll open up the terminal once again, and I'll clear this window, and we're going to create a guard. So I'm going to say ngg guard, and this is going to go in the guards folder, and we're going to call it prevent-unsaved-changes, and we're going to say skip-tests. And inside here, we want to deselect the Can Activate, and we want to go down and select the Can Deactivate guard and press return. And let's go take a look at our new guard. So I'm going to open up the Prevent Unsaved Changes guard, and what we have here is a Can Deactivate function. And it's quite busy with the parameters here, but we only need access to our component, because inside our member edit component, what we have is a component property, the view child here, but we have a component property called edit form. And inside our guard, we'll be able to access this property to see if the form is dirty. So we'll go back to the code here, but we need to give our Can Deactivate function the name of the component. So inside the angle brackets here, we say member edit component, and let's just remove the parameters that we're not going to be using. We don't need the next state, the current state, or the current route for what we're doing here. So we have access to the component that we have defined in the type parameters for the Can Deactivate function. So instead of return true, I'm going to say if the components, and then note that we've got access to the properties inside that component, all of the things that we've created, and we need access to the edit form here, and we can check its dirty status. And if it is dirty, we can return. And we're just going to use a JavaScript confirm prompt for the time being. And we're going to say, are you sure you want to continue? Any unsaved changes will be lost. And the confirm is going to return a true, or it's going to return false. And if they say yes, that means it's going to return true, and they effectively move on to where they're trying to get to. And if it returns false, then they stay on the component. And we've still got an error here, so we do need to return something from this, and I'm just going to return true. Because this is a root guard, we need to do something with our root. So I'm going to open up the app roots, and where we've got our member edit component root, we're going to add the Can Deactivate, and we're going to, in square brackets, use our Prevent Unsaved Changes guard inside there. And I'll move that down because things are going off the edge. With that in place, let's go test. And if I go back to my component, I'll just refresh the page. And if I make some changes, then I click to a different location, then we get the JavaScript confirmation prompt saying, are you sure you want to continue, etc. And I say, oh, okay, no, I'm not ready, and I cancel. I stay on the component and I can carry on making changes. If I do the same thing again, but I say okay, then I get taken to where I want to go. But of course, the changes have been lost. And that works fine within our application. But what happens if I make a bunch of changes and then click outside of our application? Well, nothing happens. And if I go back, then my changes have been lost. So the root guard only helps with Angular roots. It doesn't help with browser functionality such as back, forwards, home, or closure of the tab itself, it's not going to prevent that from happening. And is there anything we can do about that? Well, yes. And we can interact with browser functionality and do something quite similar. So let's go back to VS Code and we'll go to our member edit component. And below the view child, we're going to access the host listener. So this is another decorator and we're going to say host listener. And this binds, well, let's take a look at what it does. And type of host listener metadata decorator that binds a DOM event to a host listener and supplies configuration metadata. Angular invokes the supplied handler method when the host element emits the specified event and updates the bound element with the result. Okay, so our browsers emit events effectively, and one of them is an event that happens before the browser moves on, and it's called before unload. And if that event is emitted, then we can do something. And that's what we're going to look at now. So we're going to use the host listener, and we need to be very specific about the event we're going to be listening to. We get this from window, and before unload. All in lowercase and exactly like this. This is a browser event. This is not a name that I've invented for training course purposes, and this is the event that we need to get. The second parameter here is the arguments, and we want to specify in square brackets, in quotes, we say $ and events. And then we need a variable to work with inside our component. Now this can be called anything, this part, this can be called thing, and I'm just going to call it notify. It doesn't matter, this can be anything, and we're not actually going to be using it elsewhere in our component. And then we need to give this a parameter, and we give this a parameter event, so $event, and we're going to give it a type of any. And then open curly brackets, and we're going to check the form status. So we're going to say if this edit form.dirty, then we're going to say $events, and we specify the return value equals true. So that's how we access our browser events from an Angular component. Or at least that's the theory. Let's go test to see if this works. Bear in mind, all of this stuff, we don't really get any compiler support because this is browser related functionality. And let's just go and see what happens. So once again, we're making some changes. We've still got our root guard. That's going to do the same thing. And I'm going to cancel out of this. But then I'm going to try and click my home button. And this time we get the browser confirmation asking us if we want to leave the site. Changes that you have made may not be saved. And I can either say, oh, okay, I'm going to cancel that and I stay where I am. Or if I click the home button and I say leave, then we get taken away from the application and our changes are lost. Now, can we do anything about the design or styling of this one? Well, no, this is a browser native functionality, and the people that make the browser can make design changes to this, but we as developers of a web application cannot. Can we do anything about the Angular one? Sure, we can do, and we will do later on, but not right now. We're just making sure we've got the functionality in place. But yeah, sure, this doesn't look good. And yes, of course, because this is inside our Angular application, we can do something different with this one. So that's it from the client side of things, and next we'll take a look at what we need to do to persist this in our database.